How you doing, everybody? Can you hear me? Oh, cool. I'll give this a few minutes just for people to trickle in. Thanks, mighty lad. Hiya, Holly. Yeah, I'm just going to give this a few minutes for people to trickle in and give everybody the chance to hit that like button. Oh, do you know what it is? I'm going to cut this bit out of the video when I edit it and upload it tomorrow. When you've got the option of being able to go and do stuff, you're more active. So even though I don't really go out that often, I find myself a bit more active around the house when I know that I've got the opportunity to just go out if I want to. But when you've got this restriction on movement, and I think a lot of people will find a similar situation in the coming weeks, you'll find yourself sitting around not doing stuff that you normally do, and your body is going to react to that. You're going to find yourself maybe sitting around a bit more than you normally do, and you're going to end up with aches and pains in places that you wouldn't normally get them because you're normally active and moving around. But I've got this pain right across, just under the chest, but it's at the back. And when I breathe in, it hurts. And I know I'm going to get somebody tell me not to breathe in now, aren't I? So, yeah, old age as well. Glitchy, it may be because of the time. I know that some internet service providers have said that they're going to lift people's speeds and their limits. But the problem with that is that more people will be using the internet to do more stuff, and it's going to slow it down even more. So, so it may well be a glitchy, unfortunately. So I apologise for that anyway. We'll give it a few more minutes. 84 people watching, 29 thumbs up. Guys, please, I know you don't have to, but if you do like the stuff that I put out, can you please hit that like button to try and help those algorithms work, and maybe push the video out to other people's home pages. Lindsay Jane, that is strange. I do know, however, that there are still some hospitals that haven't luckily had to deal with people that have got this virus. Now, what your thoughts on that is, it could be anything, and I understand there's going to be all sorts of thoughts regarding that. But no, they've not had a disagreement. They're watching to see if I'm following the social distancing rules. They're peeking over just to make sure that I'm behaving myself. Bastards. Yeah, there we are. Yeah, well, what you can't see is what little Ted's doing with his right hand. What he's doing to Big Ted. Yeah, do you know what, Holly? The weekend, and I want to apologise as well, by the way, folks, for there wasn't a live over the weekend, and I am sorry about that. Thank you, King of the Hill, much appreciated. Thank you. Oh, misdemeanor, little Ted doesn't need a truncheon. He might be a little Ted, but he certainly ain't little. Ask Big Ted, he'll tell you. That's why he's always got that funny look on his face. What was I saying? I've forgotten what I was saying now. Yeah, I ran out of medication before the weekend, and if I don't take medication for more than 24 hours, it really affects me, and I've had a pretty terrible weekend, to be honest. So I apologise for the no live over the weekend and the giveaway. That will be happening again, but it will be happening next weekend. So make sure you come and join us on next weekend's live stream in order to get yourself, potentially get yourself a free body cam. Thanks, Del. Yeah, I picked up the meds today. So I know I'll be all right in a day or so. So I'm just pushing myself through it at the moment. It's when you know that you can't get hold of them that you struggle. But anyway, sorry, that sounded a bit weird there, didn't it? So, hello Noli, nice to see you. Well, nice to see some typing from you. What I'm going to do, guys, with this video is this is going to be, as I've done before in the PAP reports, I will go through it as though I'm recording it for edit. So while I'm talking through it, I won't respond to any questions or any comments or anything like that, just simply to make it easier and quicker to get through. And then we can have a chat afterwards, but I will be back on again at 9 o'clock to discuss what I've been working on for the past week. It should be more, but I think there's enough to be getting on with anyway. And seeing as we missed each other over the weekend, I thought I would do it tonight. So where are we at? 113, 115 viewers, 58 thumbs up. No thumbs downs yet. That's going to change, no doubt. Right. Where are we? Oh, there we go. There's the 2 thumbs down. Oh, no, they've gone. He's winding me up. Come on now. Well, I'm so used to having the thumbs down. That's what it is. There's a few people that love to disrupt the flow and take away that, that joyous 100% thumbs up. Oh no, Jay, I'm all right. I'm recovering. I've had a bad weekend. That's all. Hi, Tyrant Finder. I do feel naked without them, Noli. Right, so I'm gonna get into this report. Sky, I've got them now, thank you. Quetiapine they are, or quetiapine. Sounds like something for giving up smoking, but yeah, I didn't realise I was running out because I don't really pay attention to how many I've got left. And when I do run out and it's a weekend, it's very difficult to or if it's sort of midweek. Daisy, nobody wants to hear you snoring. If I run out towards the end of the week and it takes 48 hours to get a repeat, then I have to wait that 48 hours. Then I've got to wait all weekend, and then I've got to get there to, you know, I can't get them till sort of Monday afternoon. So I can literally have to go a week sometimes without them, which is not good. So right, so I'm going to do this. I'm going to get this this live on the road. No, Motty lads, they are quetiapine, Quuit. I'm not sure how to spell it. Quetiapine. Hi Pinaki, how you doing? I saw your video earlier, your latest video, very interesting. I didn't know that journalists were classed as key workers. So thank you for putting that up because I didn't know that, and that's very handy. Right then, okay, because I don't want to waste people's time. I'm gonna get this report out of the way. Then we can have a few minutes chat at the end, and then I'll give everybody time to go and get yourselves a cup of tea, cup of coffee, have something to eat, or whatever it is you're going to do, and then I'll be back on at 9 o'clock. So I hope this will be done. We can get this video done in the next 25 minutes or so. So please forgive me for not responding to comments and questions while I'm doing this. Again, last time, it's because I will edit this video and take out all of my chat now and after, and create a shorter PAP reports that I'll upload tomorrow. So here we go. Oh, and it's going to sound weird because I'm going to introduce myself again, even though I've said hello to everybody. But bear with me. Right. Hello, ladies, gentlemen, boys, girls, innies, outies, and in between us. Obviously, my name's Dan, and welcome back to another PAP Reports. Today is Monday, the 30th of March 2020. Today we're going to start with an update to the PAP Reports from the 5th of February, where I reported on former police constable 57-year-old Andrew McKenna from Merseyside Police, who pleaded guilty to causing the death of 49-year-old City Council worker Linda Meager by careless driving, and was jailed for 8 months at Liverpool Crown Court. Daisy, please. So, McKenna was with Merseyside Police for 18 years before retiring after the incident. And even after he retired, and even after he was found guilty to have caused Miss Meager's death, the police felt that it was essential in these times to hold a special case misconduct hearing, which took place on Thursday the 26th. The special case hearing was held at Merseyside Police headquarters and was chaired by Chief Constable Andy Cook. McKenna was found to have breached the standards of professional behaviour, namely discreditable conduct contrary to the Police Conduct Regulations 2012. No shit. The findings of that hearing were that if Constable McKenna had still been a serving police constable, the breaches of the standards of professional behaviour would have been assessed as gross misconduct, which would have led to him being dismissed from Merseyside Police Force without notice. As a result of his hearing, he has now been placed on the College of Policing barred list, which will prevent him from obtaining future employment in policing. And I have to say, I'm incredibly happy to see that the police are sticking to essential duties and dealing with issues that really need their attention during this lockdown. I would imagine after a court convicts a constable of a crime, that in itself would almost certainly be a gross misconduct matter, resulting in the same outcome. So why the police feel it's necessary and essential to hold misconduct hearings for such situations is beyond me. I think that if any constable gets a jail term, they should automatically be dismissed and placed on the college barred list. And why there even seems to be a need to conduct a misconduct hearing over somebody found guilty in a court of law of killing another person is pretty astounding. But then again, on reflection, the police work by different rules to the rest of us, don't they? So even after being found guilty and convicted in court, they can still get let off by their brethren. Astonishingly, we seem to have another incident of non-essential policing, this time by the police locking up 24-year-old Lewis Greener for 8 hours in a Tyneside police station cell for damaging what was reported to be a £5 candle. 8 hours in a police cell for damaging a £5 candle. Now, don't get me wrong, this is a story that is wound around a potential domestic incident. And actual domestic incidents aren't good and do need dealing with, but we all get angry and break things or shout at our partners. And that alone but that alone doesn't make it a domestic incident. It was alleged that Lewis Greener, during an argument with his partner, threw a £5 Sainsbury's candle and punched a wall before police arrested him as he was repairing the damage to the wall with polyfiller. In court, his solicitor accused the Crown Prosecution Service of lacking common sense, which we already know, in persisting with the prosecution, especially as it was reported that his partner actually woke him by punching him in the face several times. So he was punched in the face several times by his partner, and all he done was throw a candle and punched a wall. And yet he is the one that got arrested. Now, she apparently punched him after finding messages from another woman on his phone. A phone which was said to have also been damaged by his partner. Now, based on the fact that there was no indication that he had been physical towards her, his defence said that this is a man who should have been dealt with by a caution at a police station. And I completely agree with that. A £5 candle, it, easily should have been dealt with as a slap on the wrist. Northumbria police said it raced to the scene after it was reported a knife was in the house, although no weapon was found. Now, forgive me, people, but surely everybody has at least one knife in their house. I mean, I'd very much like to hear that report, as it must have come in via a phone call, and I would have been demanding it as evidence if I was the brief. Because personally, it could well be that the police just simply said that there was a knife when there wasn't, because we know that although some of them don't necessarily lie as such, there are many that will, just to back up their behaviour. Northumbria police went on to say that as a result, we provided a swift and proportionate policing response to the report made. Upon attending the scene, officers located the man and were satisfied he was not in possession of a weapon. No, that's because the only weapons that were there, police constables, were you. A thorough investigation was subsequently carried out and the case was presented to the CPS, who deemed there was sufficient evidence to charge a suspect with criminal damage. because clearly the thousands of pounds spent in court costs and police hours over a fucking £5 candle and a wall that would have cost about £20 to repair is entirely proportionate, isn't it? On Monday, Greener pleaded guilty to criminal damage to property under £5,000. He was ordered to pay £85 prosecution costs, as well as a £21 victim surcharge. However, the bench refused to make him pay compensation to his victim after they heard that she had smashed his mobile phone and replaced it with a cheap substitute. Now, this lad was also handed a 12-month conditional discharge after his prosecution slammed the unfairness, after his defence slammed the unfairness he feels his client had faced. He said, we have to have some form of equality and balance here, but there has been no equality in this scenario. There is no common sense. This is a matter which should never have come to court. And again, I agree. I've seen instances with American cops with Furry Potato. Some of you will know that who I'm talking about. And Furry Potato had about £100 worth or $100 worth of damage done to some equipment. And the police turned up and the police turned around and said, you know what? Rather than arresting anybody, why don't we see if the guy will pay for the damage, and then we'll call it restitution and everybody could go on their way. And that's what they did. But here, it seems that they'd rather go all out and spend thousands of pounds on prosecuting somebody over a £5 candle. You know what I mean? Rather than turn around and say, okay, you've damaged the candle, buy a replacement. You've damaged the wall, repair it or pay for it to be repaired. Job done, end of. Do you know what I mean? But no, because that wouldn't help them with their figures now, would it? Now, I'm afraid we have to go back to coronavirus-related news. Not the kind of coronavirus-related stuff that I'll be talking about at 9 o'clock, however. So, on Friday, a Huddersfield woman pleaded guilty to an assault on a West Yorkshire police constable after breathing at them before claiming to have coronavirus. Police responded to a disturbance on Whitby Avenue in Fartown and found a woman who became abusive towards them. She was subsequently arrested for being drunk and disorderly. However, as she was being detained, she exhaled. She breathed out, okay? She exhaled towards the constables and then claimed to have coronavirus. And of course, that meant that she was further arrested for assaulting an emergency worker with her breath. Now, I've spent about an hour on the phone trying to contact somebody at Public Health England and NHS to find out from their own, from the horse's mouth, if you like, if coronavirus can be passed on by breathing on somebody, or whether it is only, as the current government information suggests, due to respiratory droplets from a sneeze or a cough, or from touching your mouth and nose and then touching someone else's mouth and nose. But so far, nobody's been able to tell me an actual answer. So, Cheryl, I agree with the spitting. That's something that I'm going to be discussing in a minute, and again at 9 o'clock. I've said already throughout my videos over the last week or so, spitting, coughing in people's faces in this current situation, we'll call it, is out of order. Spitting has always been assault. Spitting at somebody has always been assault. Coughing at somebody has never been an assault, although I can understand why people are, what's the word I'm thinking of? I can understand why people are worried about being coughed on. And I can get that, and I understand that. What I don't understand, however, let me just fix my camera back here. What I don't understand, however, is that breathing in somebody's direction, whether you're breathing in their direction purposely or not, how can you turn around and say that breathing in somebody's direction is assault? Because that's just going to take that then gives the police overwhelming powers to just arrest anybody they want, and we can't have that. Can't have that. I understand what you're saying. I do understand what you're saying, but here it didn't say that she done anything other than exhaled. Do you see what I mean? As I say, I understand what you're saying. I am disagreeing with you. I have to disagree with you on that, but I do understand what you're saying. I do stand with everybody else with regards to spitting and coughing in people's faces, which is why, and this is why I've spent time on the phone today trying to contact somebody at Public Health England and the NHS to find out for definite if coronavirus can be passed on the breath or whether it has to come from respiratory droplets. Do you see what I mean? So it's not just a case of me saying I don't agree, it should not be that way. I'm actually trying to find out, do you know what I mean, where we all stand on this, because we can't allow the police to then go around arresting people for breathing in their general direction, if you see what I mean. So I hope you understand that, and I'm not dismissing your argument. Yeah, no, I do understand that, Pinaki, which is why, again, I wanted to try and find out for definite from the from Public Health England and the NHS. It'll be different if you grabbed hold of their ears, pulled them within an inch of your face and went, I can understand. I mean, that obviously is a bit disgusting. Do you know what I mean? And there's potential to pass something on to somebody. However, if you are, I mean, I'm a good 3 foot. I'm a good 3 foot from the camera. Now, if I just breathe out, if I just do that, it's highly unlikely, especially if I was outside, that anything is going to go anywhere near you. Do you know what I mean? But again, my point is, if you start arresting people for breathing in somebody's direction, that will be abused. See what I mean? So let's crack on. Now, all of this makes the prospect of assault with up to 2 years in jail for breathing on people extremely worrying. Kirklees Detective Superintendent Jim Griffiths said, given the particularly challenging circumstances all emergency services are facing amid the ongoing coronavirus outbreak, it is utterly incomprehensible that they would be treated in this way, irrespective of the fact that this individual has chosen to use coronavirus as a means to assault our colleague, which is a subject we have campaigned long and hard over. It led to the introduction of the Assaults on Emergency Workers Act in 2018, and we will continue to use these powers against anyone who attempts to use such tactics against the very people who are trying to protect them. The message is clear. We will not tolerate this behaviour from the minority, and the criminal justice system will take a dim view on those who take advantage of the virus for their own benefit. Clearly, this has been particularly distressing for the officer concerned, and we are providing the necessary support. It has not yet, however, been ascertained if the woman arrested was suffering from COVID-19. Therefore, if they're trying to suggest that it could be assault if she's got COVID-19, surely it would be a priority to test her to see if she's got COVID-19. But they're not. In fact, this woman, as far as I can tell, has been remanded in custody for breathing towards a police constable. You know, I also have to say that if the police have been campaigning long and hard to have breathing at people made an offence, I suggest they are simply trying to find ways to waste time while trying to find more powers to abuse. Yes, I have already said if people are being coughed on in their face or spat on, then absolutely spitting is an assault. And even though coughing isn't in the current climate, even with a 1% chance of being able to spread a virus, shouldn't happen. And people should be protected from genuine malicious coughing in the face. But where does this lead? If the police are given powers to arrest and the courts already have, already have the powers to imprison people for up to 2 years for this kind of so-called assault, it seems like just another abuse of power when you're going to target people who are simply breathing in your direction. You know, the type of people the police should be dealing with during this crisis are the type of people who are trying to take advantage of others. For example, staff at the Royal Stoke University Hospital were left horrified last week after finishing 12-hour shifts to find their car's catalytic converters had been stolen. The NHS workers have been working tirelessly to help people in need, and really are the last people we should be hearing about being targeted by thieves, who are simply the lowest form of scum for doing this kind of thing during this unprecedented situation we find ourselves in. The thefts happened on March 21st with 3 victims that own a Honda Jazz. In fact, they all owned Honda Jazzes. Honda Jazzes must have very interesting catalytic converters. One staff nurse parked her car at 7:30 in the morning, got back to it at 9 o'clock at night following her shift in a critical care unit. She said, "I had a long shift. I started to drive my car home and it was making a big noise. I rang my husband and told him something was wrong and slowly managed to drive home because I live close to the hospital. It was the weekend, so I had to wait to take it to the garage and they said it would cost £650 to repair. I can't afford to get it fixed. I've got 3 kids and now I'm relying on my husband's car. It's really heartbreaking, especially with COVID-19. We are really struggling at work. I'm working with patients that have it. It is really stressful. So to come out and find my car like this, the whole world is struggling now and people should not be doing it. It's terrible. They really should be punished." And I personally couldn't agree more. I think the police spending less time out in the countryside trying to find people to find with their drones and more time in places where crimes are actually taking place. Because I guarantee that the police's virtue signalling activities and spying on people who are in fact doing nothing wrong with the aim of shaming them and fining them, the crooks are taking the opportunity of less police in the built-up areas to commit more crimes. As a result of the incidents, University Hospitals of North Midlands NHS Trust have stepped up security patrols at the Royal Stoke to try and prevent any more thefts. A spokesman said it's very sad that these incidents take place at all, but especially during a time of extra challenge to the NHS when all of our staff are working even harder to provide care. Now, I have to say, obviously the fire brigade aren't necessarily doing more than they were, and I'm not taking away from them the fabulous work that they do, because they actually do put their lives in danger every time they go out to protect other people. The nurses and the NHS, absolutely, at this time, they are working hard to, protect people like members of our families. Do you know what I mean? And they're actually doing that. They don't have a choice. They sign up to work in that field. They don't have a choice of what they do. the police do have a choice in how they react. Okay, the police have, what's the word I'm thinking of? The police have, I can't think of the word, but the police can turn around and look at an incident and go, there's no point in arresting that person because it's pointless. I'll just get them to pay, to pay that person for the criminal damage, for example, and we'll forget the whole thing. Do you know what I mean? They're able to and I can't think of the bloody words, but discretion. Thank you, David. Thank you very much. They have the discretion, whereas people in hospitals don't. Firefighters don't. They don't have discretion. The police do. And I think that's why they abuse their positions so much, or many of them abuse their positions so much, because of that discretion. That kind of gives them the feel of judge, jury and executioner, doesn't it? So I think that's probably where part of the issue is. Richards, yeah, I think they are. Shall we have a listen? Shall I put the microphone up to the ceiling and have a listen? I'm only joking. Right, so I'm sorry, something's falling off of the thing here. Right, so let's get this last bit out of the way. On Saturday, a 13-year-old boy was arrested under the new police powers that they've been given because people are failing to comply with lockdown rules. Now, mainstream media seem to be convinced that these new rules give the police powers they don't actually have. In fact, most suggest that new powers given to police in England mean no one will be allowed to leave their home without a reasonable excuse. And that, based on what the National Police Chief Council have been saying, is incorrect. Leeds police officer Steve Richardson said on social media that he arrested a 13-year-old boy on Saturday morning for refusing to give his details. I bet he went back to the police station flexing his muscles, going, yes, I've got a 13-year-old, I'm fucking well old. Ow, I shouldn't have done that. Oh, that'll teach me. PC Richardson tweeted, today I arrested a 13-year-old male under the new coronavirus powers. The male refused to give me any details so I could take him home. He was arrested and taken to custody. Now, if PC Richardson didn't already have a massive hard-on for abusing his new powers, he sure did after realising that he could punish the boy's mother too. Because he added to his tweet that his mother was being dealt with for being a responsible person failing to comply. Now, the new legislation, which came into force on March the 26th, will be the subject of a future channel video. But mainstream media are saying that the main points of the rules are that police can order members of the public to go home, order members of the public to leave an area. They have the power to disperse a group using reasonable force if necessary, and can make arrests if someone refuses to comply. Those who ignore the tougher restrictions on movement could be hit with a £60 fine, reduced to £30 if paid within 14 days. Or for another offence, they'd get 120. Those who do not pay the fines will see themselves in court facing costs for unlimited fines. Good luck with that. Refusing to provide a name and address to avoid being given a fine is an arrestable offence, it says. Officers can also take steps to make sure parents are stopping their children from breaking the rules. The government says the legislation is to protect the public and keep them safe. They also state that the regulations were made in response to a serious and imminent threat to public health posed by the police. COVID-19. And the government considers the restrictions and requirements imposed by these restrictions as proportionate to what they seek to achieve. But human rights campaigners have raised concerns about the restrictions posed by the powers. It says that the rules do not appear to limit how many times per day someone can leave the house. So let me just take a moment to give you my opinion. And this is only my opinion, folks, based on what I know. If you're out and about doing whatever it is you're doing and you're approached by the police, do not interact with them in any way until you've got your phone out or your body cam on and it's recorded. That is the only way you can cover yourself against people who generally, not always, but generally seem intent on abusing these new powers. You also should educate your loved ones and your kids that refusing to provide a name and address to avoid being given a fine is not the same as refusing to give your name and address just because you're asked for it. Okay? So if you're asked, if the police approach you, okay, or your children or whatever, and they come up to you and they ask for your details, you refusing to give your details at that point is not refusing to give your details in order to avoid a fine. That is you standing by your fucking right not to give your details because you've done nothing wrong. Okay? You need to explain this to younger ones as well. But don't get me wrong, I think anybody that goes out with the sole purpose of being an arsehole, okay, and they do arsehole things, then you deserve whatever you get. But normal citizens that can go out and interact with other people properly, okay, and are not doing anything wrong, you need to understand that not giving your details, Yorkshire man, that's wrong. I'm sorry, you'll find out why at 9 o'clock. So tell people, your loved ones, tell your friends, tell your kids that if the police ask for their details, they don't have to give it to them. The only time they're supposed to have to give their details is if they are being given a fine. And that's important to know, okay? Because in order to be given a fine, you must be demonstrating that you're not complying with the rules. Does that make sense? You have to demonstrate that you are not complying with the rules. Right? Dean, I'm going to be explaining it in the 9 o'clock video. So, so make sure you join me for the 9 o'clock video, and I'll explain why that was why blah, blah, blah. I'll explain why that's wrong. Right, so not giving your details is not complying with the rules, okay? And nor is keeping absolutely quiet, okay? It is, after all, in law, the police's job to prove without doubt your guilt of a crime. It is not your job to prove your innocence, although they will try and make you feel that it is. I suggest that by being silent throughout any interaction cannot be deemed as breaking any rules. The police can only determine if you're breaking the rules if you tell them you're breaking the rules. Even innocently telling them what you've been up to can give them reason to suggest that you're breaking the rules and arrest you and or fine you. If you've said nothing at all and you are subsequently told you're being fined and therefore you must give your details, I would suggest that that's unlawful and an abuse of powers, as the police need to have a genuine belief that you are breaking the rules, and unless you confirm that by talking to them, there is very little chance that they can actually prove it. You should educate your loved ones that even if arrested, there is nothing to worry about. Yes, it'll be boring, but you'll get fed and watered for the 24 hours they're allowed to hold you. You know what I mean? Which you can just simply go to sleep and sleep through it, before the 24 hours is up, and they have to release you even if you fail to give your name and address. If you genuinely can't cope that long, or you must give your details to prevent arrest for other reasons, then fine. I mean, it may be that you need medication, or you live with someone who requires care. There is no shame in giving details under those circumstances, but if you can, then you should simply record the entire interaction before you speak, or as soon as they approach, for your own defence and to prove that the police couldn't have any reasonable belief that you were breaking any rules. Now, I am going to go through this latest legislation at some point and give you an opinion on that. But for now, as there's no suggestion on how many times you can leave the house, because there isn't, and no suggestion that you can't visit places to do your daily exercise, but there is suggestion of the police finding people and spying on people to shame them, then your very best course of action is to remain absolutely silent throughout and give nothing away that can be used against you. Also, you should educate your loved ones that the police will try and persuade them to give in with threats or mind games. For example, if you've done nothing wrong, you've got nothing to worry about. Or you're making it worse for yourself by not telling us. That usual BS. So just remind people that they have rights still. And we have to use the legislation that's being used against us, against them. I want to say a big thank you to Patreon supporters, Motty Lad, Holly, AD Dave, Ian, Copwatch UK, Ding J and Carl. Your support is helping me to continue to provide you this daily content, although I have missed a couple of days and I am sorry. But that is all I have for you for today's PAP Reports. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Let me know your thoughts, as I know many of you have and many of you will. Until next time, stay safe, look after each other, film the police and other officials. Cut. Right. Sorry. Yes, that is the dog snoring, unfortunately. I might have a large amount, well, to me it's a large amount of subscribers, but unfortunately I don't have the ability to have a dedicated room where I can lock these two biatches out. So they have to sit with me, unfortunately. But you're lucky. That snoring tonight is not the worst it's been. Can I start again from the beginning? No. I've only got 35 minutes and I'm back again for another live. Well, this is obviously going to be recorded, so after about 10 minutes or after about 5 minutes of the end of this, it'll be ready for you to go back and watch from the beginning. I will also, by the way, this video will also be, I will, Panaki, do I need to check it before I finish this live, or can I check it in between this? Can I check it in between this and the 9 o'clock live? Oh, cool. I'll check it in between. Anyway, Pinaki. The 9 o'clock. I think I need to take another tablet. The 9 o'clock report is literally coronavirus related. Everything in it is to do with what's going on. And we're talking about misuse of powers. We're talking about people taking a piss. We're talking about scumbags that are using the virus for their own gain and things like that. And this is stuff that isn't necessarily going to be in the news. And I'm pretty sure that most of you watching will be unaware of at least one of the things that I've got to talk about. Yeah, Jay, I understand, but they've already said that they've not tested her to see if she's got anything. Do you know what I mean? Does that, to breathe on? I know this is an extreme. What's the word I'm thinking? I'm struggling with the words tonight. I know it's an extreme comparison. There we go. But if somebody breathes in your face and then says, I've got coronavirus, and that means you can be arrested, does that mean if you say, let me think. Does that mean if you say that you're gay for a laugh, okay? And no offense to any gay people or anything like that, but if you turn around to somebody and go, oh yeah, I'm gay, does that mean that you can get one up the arse just because you've said it, and they'll get away with it because you said you was gay? Do you know what I mean? And it is an extreme difference, but do you see what I'm saying, right? Just because somebody says something, it doesn't necessarily mean, especially in a case of assault. Do you know? Well, it's a physical act or the threat of a physical act, isn't it? Coughing, going up to somebody and purposely coughing in their face. Breathing in somebody's direction, though. As I said earlier, unless you walk up to somebody, go nose to nose with them and go, fuck you, you've got coronavirus now, which is going to cause alarm, isn't it? That's going to cause alarm and distress to people. But just breathing, even if, I mean, I don't even know if I don't even know what to say. If one of my friends was 2 meters away from me and went, I've got coronavirus, I'd go, fuck off, lad. I mean, I won't give a shit. I'm not going to go, oh my God, I am devastated, call the police. But if he came up to me nose to nose and done it, I'd chin him. You know what I mean? Because I'm within my right to do that. But anyway, guys, half an hour. Your ex-wife told you not to fall asleep because she'd kill you in your sleep. Did she kill you in your sleep? Because if she didn't, then that proves my point, isn't it? In a way. Evening, AP. No, not yet. How you doing, AP, my man? You've joined us late, I'm afraid, because I'm getting off for the next half an hour before I'm coming back again to do another live. Oh, no cake. No cake today. You can have some cake, Holly, but I haven't got any, and I'm not going to. I won't be getting any. Well, Jay, violent physical attack, I do believe that the threat of a genuine threat of immediate violence should be classed as assault. If somebody turns around and goes, "I'm going to fucking slap you," I mean, come on. You know what I mean? Go and have a cry in a corner. Don't go waste the police's time over that one. Yeah, AP, no worries. 9 o'clock it'll be, mate. So half hour. Roll yourself a fat one, my son. Domino's pizza. No, Jay, you're right. I agree. Words aren't violent. I agree with that. Do you know what I mean? I always talk about free speech and freedom of expression. Totally agree with that. All I'm saying, that's what I'm saying. It has to be the threat of immediate violence against you, not the threat of, oh, somebody might hit me at some point at some place in time. That's bullshit. But if somebody steps up to you, do you know what I mean? And their words indicate a direct threat of imminent violence, a bit like when the police say, "Put your hands behind your back." That's a direct threat of imminent and immediate violence. That is assault. You know what I mean? So yeah, so that's my take on it anyway. And you know that, I don't back the police in most of what they do and say, but there are some things that I think that need to be in place. Do you know what I mean? And if the threat of violence, as Brian's just said there, if the threat of violence through words wasn't allowed to be taken as such, then we wouldn't be able to defend ourselves against it. Do you know what I mean? So that gives us that little safe space, if you like, for us to be able to retaliate and preempt an attack. Oh yeah, Jay. No, yeah, absolutely. Words cannot hurt you unless you allow them to. Whereas fists are going to hurt you, whether you want them to or not. You know what I mean? For example. But yeah, all I'm saying with regards to that situation is that if we simply say we can't take any words as a threat of violence, then we're not going to be allowed to be able to preempt violence and protect ourselves. Do you see what I mean? So we have to have that little buffer zone, if you like, which is, that's the way I look at it. That the direct threat of violence through words is of imminent violence is a little buffer zone where we are allowed then to be able to take action of our own to be able to prevent that violence from happening to us. So yeah, so that's my sort of view on that anyway. Right, shit. I need to go and take some more cocaine's. No, I'm joking, but I do need to go and take something for this pain. 25 minutes, folks, and I'll be back. The video quality is going to be worse than it is now because I'm going to have to use the webcam because I need to use... Oh no, don't fall over. Oh, come here. I've got to use my webcam because I need to use a live streaming service so that I can share some of my screen with you to sort of explain some of the things I'm talking about. So forgive the quality of the footage when you come back. I will do my best to make it as good as I can. But I will see you folks in 25 minutes. Thank you, Banana. Much appreciated. Just in time for a poo. Shh. Don't make me laugh. Jesus, man, don't make me laugh. I'll be back soon. Oh, I can't turn the bloody thing off now.